Yes, I was just wondering if you had any rooms available. Jim Lincoln. 3 nights, please. And what time is check-in? Okay, thank you. Alright, bye.
Somewhere in here, for sure.
What about Canada?
No.
It's closer.
No. He'd be the Yankee. Someone different.
Aren't you due for a vacation?
I'm not taking my vacation, Captain. Later. I will later. East, south, west. Every report verified.
Yeah. And by the time you arrive.
One day, he'll be there.
Phil. The arrest. The trial. The appeals. The accident. Why? What is so special about Kimball?
Mr. Kimball, tell us the nature of your relationship with your wife.
I love my wife. We were married for 5 years and we were together for 10.
Were you ever depressed, Mr. Kimball? Did you feel sad or alone?
Well, no,
Why did you leave her alone in that house?
I needed some fresh air that night, that's all.
Did you feel any resentment?
What would I have to resent?
Where were you on the night of June 24th when your wife was murdered?
No. Now wait a minute. I'm just trying to...
Did you have a motive?
There was a man in my house.
The only evidence that points to a man being in that house.
You think I'm crazy, don't you? I'm not crazy. I'm telling you the truth. He killed my wife.
So you're saying you didn't kill your wife, Mr. Kimball?
No, I'm innocent. I'm innocent.
That's enough, Philip.
I enforce the law. The law pronounced him guilty, so I'll enforce it.
What are you trying to convince yourself of? Primarius defense. A one-armed man running from the direction of the house. Phil, I'm beginning to believe you think there was such a man.
No, I did everything I could to find him.
Meaning that he didn't exist? Or that he escaped? And if he did escape, the law made a mistake.
Captain, whether or not the law is right or wrong is none of my concern. Let others conclude and debate. I obey. And when I begin to question, there's doubt. I can't permit it. Others found him guilty, and others were about to execute him. I'm merely an instrument of the law and them. And Dr. Kimball must be found.
did work in Reno.
Well, you won't have to do fast tonight. Tomorrow's Saturday. Bring your roller skates. Take over. It's all yours.
Thanks.
120 a week. Is it, Jim?
Yeah, Jim's fine.
Lee Brown, but we won't shake hands because I might fire you tomorrow. The waitress is Evelyn, the girl with the guitar is Monica. Introduce yourself.
Boss said to say hello. I'm Jim Lincoln.
Name's Monica, Monica Wells. Plays beautifully, doesn't she? Lovely too, wouldn't you say that she's lovely?
Very.
Come on, Jim. You just glanced at her. You gotta look at her. Vodka tonic, Jim.
Coming up.
You know what? While you're at it, get her one too.
She doesn't want to drink.
Bet you would if you're paying for it. I'll pay for it.
She isn't drinking.
Then you have one.
I make it a rule never to drink when I'm working.
It's a real dandy rule. Make that one up all by yourself?
Jim! I'm about to get a so-called meal from my so-called kitchen. You want anything?
No thanks. You know that fellow over there?
No. Why?
He's working pretty hard to make trouble.
Jim, listen. With the price of a drink, you can buy an audience. On Monday, he'll have to face whatever's bothering him. But tonight's Friday night.
What were you saying down there about me?
What makes you think I was talking about you?
You know what, Jim? I don't like you. I don't like you one bit. I want you to remember that. See you later, sweetheart.
May I please have a drink? Anything.
You know that fellow over there? Listen, you can tell me if it's none of my business. You know, sometimes these, worshippers.
He does not worship me. Thanks for trying to help.
Meaning it's none of my business.
Meaning, it isn't fair to involve you.
Bourbon on the rocks? Please stop! Please! No! Stop! Stop! Please! Stop! Please! Stop! No! Please! No! Stop! Please! Please!
Please, no police.
Did you drive here yourself? Come on, let's get a cab.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to involve you. To call the police, I had a very good reason. That man is my husband. Want to leave now? Stick around and hear the story of my life.
I'm not going anywhere.
We live in Phoenix. Well, we lived in Phoenix. About a month ago, I couldn't take it any longer, so I came here and got a job doing the only thing I've ever been trained for, playing guitar.
But not in a bar. Well, what was it you couldn't stand?
His suspicions. I wouldn't mind it if he had had a reason to be jealous, but he was simply insanely suspicious. When we were married, I was considered the luckiest girl in Phoenix. Ed was almost the perfect husband. He was a little jealous then, but I was 18. I was flattered by it. A month after he left for Iraq, I found out I was pregnant. So happy I ran 3 blocks in the rain to mail the letter. He wrote back with just a hint of an accusation, but I answered pretending not to notice, and he never wrote that way again. He came home. Day by day, he began to grow more and more suspicious. Violent. His face changed. He doesn't look like the man I married.
And he won't let you go?
No. After about a month of peace, he found me. He walked into the bar, had a drink, and left without saying a word.
What does he want?
To possess me, to beat me, to teach me how evil I am.
Why haven't you gone to the police?
Tried that. He found out, and he found it very amusing. You see, he owns 250,000 acres of the Adirondacks. He contributes to charity and belongs to all the proper social organizations. He was even mentioned as a possible political candidate. When he's not home, he's almost the perfect man.
Don't you have friends or family in another state? Out west?
He'd find me.
Now look, Monica, I want to help, but I don't know what I can do.
It's just enough to talk to you.
Well then, maybe I can see you tomorrow.
On Saturdays, I usually take a ride to the park. Helps me think of other things.
Well then we'll make it noon at the park. Maybe we can both think of other things. I'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.
She's my wife.
And that gives you certain rights?
Packing pretty light. Coming into town, find yourself a little room, get a job. You fixing to stay long?
I'd like to.
So you can make more trouble?
I don't make trouble. I walked into it.
You walked into me, bartender.
Yeah, I already heard how important you are.
Go on. Keep it loaded. Keep a lot of money on me. More than safe sometimes, you know? Now, it's not going to do you one bit of good trying to help Monica, because she can go anywhere in this world. I will find her. I will be there, see?
For another beating?
Not if she behaves herself, if you know what I mean.
Stop torturing that woman, get yourself some help, see a psychiatrist.
You just said the wrong thing. Now there's nothing left for you to do but get out of my sight. About 1,000,000 miles out.
So, your husband paid me a visit last night. He must have followed us, and then waited, and then followed me to my hotel room. You wanna know what we talked about? He threatened me if I didn't leave town. So here I am.
Oh, Jim, this is going too far.
All we have to do is find an answer. I've been trying.
He threatened you.
Yeah, under the pretext of showing off his custom-made revolver.
Yes, he showed it to me. If he threatened you, why don't you go to the police? Jim, what is it?
I can't go to the police. And if you ask me why, I can't even tell you.
I'm in no position to ask anything of you. Accept your help. So what do we do now?
Well, what I can do and what I'd like to do are two different things. All we can do now is wait.
Bartender, give me another.
Of the usual, Jim.
I'll have another.
Usual for me.
Thanks, sir.
It's a pretty tune, sweetheart. Do I know it? You work hard, don't you, Jim? People yelling at you all the time. Don't know if I could stand that. Of course, did do some of that in the Army. You ever seen service, Jim?
Here's your drink.
Yeah, thanks. Over in Iraq in combat, we used to have these loudspeakers that would yell at us, let us know what was going on back home while we were fighting.
They used to tell you?
You have a nice time out there at the park? That's right. Looked like you two were having a lot of fun.
Wells, I'm not gonna pretend to guess what's wrong with you. Your suspicions about your wife, they're all wrong.
Got no suspicions, Jim. Just facts. You make a good drink. Maybe it's because I'm in a good mood. Can't tell the difference, though.
Wells, see a doctor.
I don't need a doctor. I'm in perfect health. Have a good night, Jim. Good night, sweetheart.
It's freezing out here.
There's our cab.
The lady will leave now. The police officer. See me about her fare. Ask for Sergeant Burden. We'd be obliged if you'd get into the car, Mr. Lincoln. That is your name, James Lincoln.
Would you mind telling me?
Detective Sergeant Burden. Please get in. Ah, my partner, Detective Fairfield. She's from Ohio. Where are you from, Mr. Lincoln?
Rockford, Illinois.
Care for a cigarette?
No thanks.
Good man. Trying to quit myself.
Would you mind telling me what this is about?
This your first visit to Plattsburgh, Mr. Lincoln? You like it?
I haven't seen much.
But you like what you have.
Do you like your job, Mr. Lincoln?
Well, he hasn't seen much of it. But he likes what he has.
You know what? It's funny.
Something funny?
Well, I mean, I guess strange, really. An average man is walking home, and the police pick him up for questioning. What's your name? Where'd you come from? You know he's scared.
Is that right? Well, I never knew that. Did you know that, Fairfield?
No. Now, why would the average man be afraid of the police?
Guilt. I guess there isn't a man in the world who doesn't have something he wants to hide. Even you two.
Now that remark was not calculated to gain favor with me.
I'm sorry. I guess these questions are just getting me a little nervous. You know, Sergeant, you're pushing me around. Gently, but pushing. I mean, put yourself in my place. I'm new in town, no one to vouch for me, no friend who's a lawyer. I can't demand anything. I just have to sit here and take it from you guys.
You know, I wish I could argue with you, but you're right. I wouldn't want you to think I was sadistic. Fairfield, do you think we've been unkind?
Maybe so, Sergeant.
Well, some bit of comfort to think that we saved him a long walk in this chilly weather. Your hotel.
Well, I certainly appreciate it.
Not at all. Mr. Lincoln. You know, I honest to goodness don't know what's wrong with us.
That's all right, Sergeant. It's an easy mistake.
Of course. But we want to do the right thing.
We'll see you to your room.
Well, you don't really have to.
We insist.
Well, Fairfield, I think it's about time he unpacked.
Well, maybe he did. Realized he didn't like it and thought it was time to leave.
Well, I was born here. I'll die here. I like to keep the city of Plattsburgh as clean as its air. I welcome visitors. Most of them.
Say, Mr. Lincoln, usually read every paper?
That's how I found the job.
We've received a complaint against you, Mr. Lincoln.
A complaint?
Mm-hmm. Mr. Edward Wells, Plattsburgh. He says you're breaking up his marriage.
His marriage is already broken up. I'm just trying to protect his wife. She's afraid of him.
That's not the impression we got from Mr. Wells.
Well, have you talked to Mrs. Wells?
We're not in the marriage counseling business. Nor are you.
Unless that man has helped, you might pay a very high price just to find out how dangerous he really is.
Oh, is that right? Hear that, Fairfield? Says Mr. Wells is dangerous. What you got there?
Hair dye.
Really?
Use this stuff?
Yeah. Last month, I saw a little gray, and I didn't think it would help in finding work.
Does a good job. I don't see any grays. Maybe he worries a lot.
Could be diet. I read where a man can get gray with certain foods. You eating all right, Mr. Lincoln?
I eat only what I can afford, and I try not to worry.
Leave Plattsburgh tonight.
What's the matter? Cost you a job in a beautiful city? Aren't you going to protest?
I'm too tired.
Get some rest in another town, Mr. Lincoln.
What do the police want?
He convinced them that I was an outsider trying to break up his happy home. Monica, I have to leave town, but if you come with me, you might be worse off.
I don't understand.
My picture's in every police station in the country. Right now, they might just be realizing who Jim Lincoln really is. I'm a convicted murderer.
I don't believe you.
I said convicted. I'm innocent. I'm a doctor, a pediatrician. Well, I was a doctor. My wife, she wouldn't have kids, and she wouldn't adopt. And we argued about it. Too much for too long. So one night, I walked out. I got in the car, and I drove. Just stared at the river. I remember seeing a boy in a rowboat. He didn't see me. After a while, I cooled off, and I drove home. About a block from my house, I almost hit a man. A man with one arm. And for some reason, he was running. When I got home, I felt so much better, and I was ready to talk to my wife about everything. The lights were out, and my house was trashed. I walked in the kitchen, and there she was, lying on the ground, beaten to death.
Who?
I was a doctor. And my wife, she wouldn't have kids, and she wouldn't adopt. And we argued about it. Too much for too long. So one night, I walked out. I got in the car, and I drove, and I parked, just stared at the river. I remember seeing a boy in a rowboat. He didn't see me. After a while, I cooled off, and I drove home. About a block from my house, I almost hit a man with one arm. For some reason, he was running. When I got home, I felt so much better, and I was ready to talk to my wife about everything. The lights were out, and my house was trashed. I walked in the kitchen, and there she was, lying on the ground, beaten to death.
Who?
I don't know. Had to be unmotivated. Vagrant. A prowler. The police never... That was over 2 years ago. Trial was a nightmare. Neighbors had heard our arguments. My only hope was to find the man with one arm. And then, I got convicted. Sat in prison for 18 months. There were appeals. They were taking me to be executed when the train derailed. Ever since then, I've been running, hoping that someday I'd find the man with one arm. I keep running, and they keep hunting. One man in particular, Lieutenant Philip Gerard. Sometimes, I feel like I've known him all my life. Some nights, I can't sleep. I hear his footsteps on the stairs, and I see his face outside my door. Gerard.
I don't want them to find you. I'll pack.
Oh, Mr. Wells. How are you?
Wanted to come by and say thanks. I hope I'm not being premature now, am I?
Not at all. We just explained to him how we feel about the honored residents of our city.
And how'd he take it?
Hotel clerk said he checked out about a half hour ago. Should be buying a train ticket right now.
I wish I could find some way to show you my gratitude.
Not at all. We explained to him how we feel about the honored residents of our city.
And how'd he take it?
Hotel clerk said he left about a half hour ago. Should be buying a train ticket right now.
I wish there was some way I could show you my gratitude.
We accept no bribery, sir.
That's not what I meant, Sergeant.
Sir, Sergeant likes to joke.
I better get home to my family.
Oh, can we give you a ride?
No thanks, I can probably do this on my own. Have a good night.
Good night, then. I don't know. You think you know this job, and then all of a sudden you don't. A woman breaks up a fine home to go play guitar in a bar. Leave with a man that you just met a few hours prior. I just don't know.
Me either.
Wake up! You did this!
Let's get out of here. Monica, if I stay...
They'll find you, and you'll never find him.
It's okay. You can go home now. It's over.
Everything?
We won't forget. That's all we have left. Remembering. Maybe... Goodbye.
Miss Wells, I'm sorry about the circumstances.
Who are you?
Miss Wells, did James Lincoln tell you where he was going?
You're Lieutenant Gerard. The Plattsburgh police must...
They recognized him, unfortunately after the fact. Well, so he told you about me? Excellent. It means he thinks of me as often as I do of him.
He's innocent.
The law says guilty.
The law isn't perfect. Wherever he is, he knows I believe him. I always will.